So if you're familiar with mountain biking and you love hard-hitting long travel enduro bikes, you're probably familiar with the Kona Process X. With its rock-smashing burly demeanor, it's a favorite for many mountain bikers. But Kona only offers it in carbon until now, with the Carbon Process X aluminum. So in this video, we're gonna check out the specs, details, builds, and pricing of the all-new Process X aluminum to see if it maintains the bash it and thrash it character of its carbon sibling. So now, let's check out the all-new Kona Process X aluminum. So the aluminum Process X geometry-wise is basically identical to the carbon version, with a couple of very minor tweaks. It's made of 6061 aluminum and maintains the same slack 63.5 degree head tube angle, but the seat tube has been slightly steepened to 78.2 degrees. The head tube length is slightly longer, and the chainstays are 440 millimeters, and they're not adjustable like the carbon version. It still has 170 millimeters of travel up front and 162 millimeters in the rear. Also, it's UDH equipped. There's also a flip chip, so you have the option of running the bike either as a mullet or a full 29er, all while maintaining bottom bracket height and geometry. And under the top tube, there's mounting bolts for storing either a tube or a tool. And for the new Process X aluminum, there's two available models. The first is the Process X aluminum, which comes with 29-inch wheels, except for the small size, which comes with the mullet setup. It comes with a Marzocchi Bomber Z1 fork and a Fox DHX performance shock. It has a Shimano Dior drivetrain with a 12-speed 51-tooth cassette. The brakes are Shimano Diors with 203mm rotors in the front and in the rear. It has WTB KOM Trail I-30 wheels and Maxxis tires with an Assegai in the front and a DHR2 in the rear. The dropper post is a Trans X, and the cockpit is Kona branded. At the time of this recording, there is no information on the weight or the release date, but when it is released, it'll be $4,500. But the big inclusion this year is the Process X DH, which, as you can guess, is the downhill version of the Process X. So the major difference between the DH and the regular Process X aluminum, other than the 190mm downhill fork, is that it comes from the factory with a mullet setup. The Process X DH comes with a RockShox Boxer Select fork and a RockShox Super Deluxe coil shock. It has a SRAM X7 drivetrain with a 9-speed 34-tooth cassette. The brakes are SRAM Guide Ts with 200mm rotors in the front and in the rear. It has WTB STI-30 wheels and Maxxis tires with an Assegai in the front and a DHR2 in the rear. The cockpit is Kona branded, and at the time of recording there's no information on the weight or release date, but when it is released, it'll be $4,700. Overall, I like the Process X aluminum. Kona bikes are not known for being very affordable, so I like that they're making an aluminum version that makes it a little more affordable without having to break the bank. But with that being said, I do have a couple small issues with the DH version. It has nothing to do with the concept of the DH. I actually like that Kona is making a downhill version of the Process X. The issue that I have is with some of the build components that Kona decided to put on the bike. First are the wheels. I have nothing against WTB ST rims. They're great rims for a trail bike, but I would have liked to see something more heavy duty to handle the abuse that a downhill bike takes. And the second issue for me is the Guide T brakes. And just like the rims, I don't necessarily have an issue with Guide T brakes, but to me, they're underpowered for a downhill bike. I would have liked to see Kona put a little more heavy duty parts on this build, even if it meant having to raise the price by a couple $100. But even with these critiques, I'm still really glad that Kona is making this bike. But hey, these are just my opinions. What really matters is, how do you feel about the new aluminum Kona Process X? Do you think my critiques are justified? Are you interested in buying one? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great one. So now, let's check out the all-new Kona. Jesus.